Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Brazilian striker Gabriel Jesus and dissect whether he possesses the required tools to lead Arsenal into the top four. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Gabriel Jesus' role at Manchester City, and then we'll analyze his strengths and weaknesses. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, first we're going to analyze Gabriel Jesus' role at Man City, and what you see here is their base 4-3-3 with Gabriel Jesus playing as a central forward. He could play in that central role, but there were various scenarios where he did play on the right or the left, and that's where you would see other attacking midfielders come into that central role. If we focus on that 4-3-3, what you end up seeing is that De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva do push forward in towards those central areas, and we do witness City adjusting their attacking structure to their opponent. You could see them playing in more of a 4-1-5. There were times where you'd see them play in more of a 3-1-6 with one of the fullbacks pushing forward, and then you'd see, for instance, Kyle Walker shifting into a center back role while Cancelo pushed forward from the left, and then the wide player would tuck in to occupy the fullback. And if that wasn't the case, there were occasions where they did shift into more of a 2-3-5. We'd have the center backs just ahead of Rodri, and then the fullbacks would tuck in towards the half spaces so that the five attacking players, specifically the wide players, could hug the touchline, while the shuttlers push forward into those central areas within close proximity of the striker. Ultimately, when you compare that to Arsenal, we have seen them play in a 4-1-5 and a 3-2-5 throughout the season under Mikel Arteta. So there shouldn't be any real significant changes for Gabriel Jesus in terms of his role. And while many do believe he will play out in the wider areas, it would only be if it was a tactical decision or if Arsenal are simply decimated by injury due to the fact that they have enough attacking wide options in that role. On the left, they could opt between Smith Rowe and Martinelli, and then over on the right, as it stands, you have Saka and Fabio Vieira and Nicolas Pepe. It does feel like Gabriel Jesus will play from a central position, and when we analyze his overall game, whether it be in those wider areas or in that central position, he does what you want from an all-round striker. For instance, he is capable of dropping off deeper to link play with his teammates and retain possession, or he can simply drop off in towards that pocket of space between the lines, hold up possession, and then progress the play to play the ball in towards his attacking wider teammates. In this example, you witness Fernandinho bypassing the Newcastle midfield bang for Gabriel Jesus dropping in towards the halfway circle, and as you can see when he receives the ball, the Newcastle center back isn't tight towards him, and he locates Cancelo running off his wide marker. From there, Gabriel Jesus has enough time to locate Cancelo breaking in towards the Newcastle half, and he slides the ball into the path of Cancelo, who can now break in towards the final third freely. In that same breath, if you don't want to play the ball towards his feet, he's also capable of holding off defenders and flicking the ball on towards his teammates or nodding it down in towards their possession, or you can see him chesting the ball in towards his teammates while holding off the opposing side's defender to help Arsenal progress their play. What you can say is that in many of those situations when he's dropping off, he's moving away from the opposing side center backs to receive the ball in between the lines. And you can make the argument that when you play the ball towards his feet and there is tight pressure applied, Gabriel Jesus' ability to link play drops off several levels. If we focus on another element of Gabriel Jesus' game that is impactful, it is his pressing. His work rate and his tactical discipline to break up play and win possession is integral, and he does it in all areas of the pitch. There are situations where you see him leading the line and applying pressure in the opposing side's third, and that's where he's able to win possession and then force fouls. Here you can see Gabriel Jesus stepping towards the ball carrier and blocking off the free option. And when that player looks to clear the lines, it's Jesus who extends his leg to block the ball and it ricochets beyond him. As we watch that play develop, you can see that the Brazilian is able to bypass the defender that was looking to clear his lines. And that enables him to break into right half space to play the ball square into the path of De Bruyne. But he opts to carry the ball towards the outside and round the goalkeeper. And from there, when the keeper outstretches his arm, he takes down Gabriel Jesus for a penalty. You see him breaking up play in the midfield zone in the middle third, and from there he's able to ignite attacks or then again win fouls. Against Real Madrid, you see Casemiro receiving the ball in the halfway circle, and he's unaware of Gabriel Jesus applying pressure from behind. As that play develops, you can see that he's looking to play the ball towards the left, but he doesn't check his shoulder, and that gives Gabriel Jesus time to step in from behind, apply a challenge, and he's able to win the ball and get goal side of the Brazilian midfielder. What he ends up doing next is that he's able to take the touch away from Casemiro, and that does present a loose ball for Toni Kroos to step into. But when he tracks back to attempt to win the ball, Gabriel Jesus is able to hold off the pressure and turn away from the German, and from there he has options just in behind him, and that's where you see him slide the ball into the path of Rodri to help Man City retain possession. And then even in his own half, there are situations where he drops off deeper and he's capable of applying enough pressure to force the opposing side's players into mistakes and help City win possession. Against Atletico, you could see Savic on the ball and Gabriel Jesus looking to apply pressure. But what Gabriel Jesus does well here is that he blocks off the passing lane into the spare man, and when Savic attempts to play the pass, he steps into the ball and he wins possession, and from there he's now able to bypass two Atletico players to find De Bruyne in a pocket of space, and from here De Bruyne should be instantly sliding the ball back into Jesus, but he attempts to carry the ball forward by himself and he loses possession. Whether it be Gabriel Jesus just stepping into tackles to win the ball or anticipating passes and cutting them out, he's capable of doing both, and that will also benefit Mikel Arteta's side as well. And then the other key aspect to Gabriel Jesus' game is his overall movement. Like I said, he could play in that central forward role or from the right or the left. And from the right-hand side, if he's not hugging the touchline, you'll see him drift into central areas laterally in the half space. And that creates space for either the shuttler to shift out into that zone, whether it be Bernardo Silva or De Bruyne, or it allows the fullback to push forward to provide width. What you end up seeing is that if he is hugging the touchline, a lot of the times you'll see his teammates playing long balls over the top for him to chest down or for him to break in beyond the fullback to receive the ball. And from there, that's where you see Gabriel Jesus receiving the ball and fizzing low balls in towards the penalty area for his teammates to get onto. Following a City break, you can see that De Bruyne is looking to split Van Dijk and Robertson for Gabriel Jesus running off the left back shoulder. And when he plays the ball between the two Liverpool defenders, Gabriel Jesus could carry it into right half space, but he looks to play a first time ball into Raheem Sterling, breaking freely towards the 6-yard area. From this position, Sterling should be having a first time effort on goal and beating Alisson, but he's unable to beat the Liverpool keeper who slides ahead to sweep it away. In terms of his 1v1 threat, on several occasions you'll witness him attempting to run at the fullback, but he isn't renowned for beating his opposing defender on a consistent basis, and on several occasions you'll see him dragging markers towards him and then playing the ball back to a deeper player. Against West Ham, you could see Mahrez looking to bypass the West Ham center back for Gabriel Jesus, making that inward outrun in towards the right half space. But when he receives the ball, you could see that he's now capable of breaking free on goal, but focus on Declan Rice. As Gabriel Jesus carries the ball into right half space, you could see that Rice recovers well, and here he's looking to attempt to cut back across the central midfielder, but knowing that Rice would probably block him off, he holds off that chop back, and now he's in a 1v1 with the midfielder in right half space, and Rice forces him towards the byline, and from there he's in good position to track the movement of Gabriel Jesus, who carries the ball into a dead end, and you can see that it's 1v3 in that zone, and he ends up firing a hopeless ball across the 6-yard box for a corner. And then against Sporting, you could see that he is in a 1v1 down the right channel, and from here you do expect him to cut central, but you could see that there are 3 Sporting players shifting across to make it a 1v4. That forces Gabriel Jesus to be held up, and you can see that the defender is applying enough pressure to force him backwards, and from there, because he applies that physical pressure, Gabriel Jesus now has to drop the ball off back in towards his defender. But when he does look to dribble, he's more successful when he drives in towards central areas, shielding the ball and then looking to play in a pass in towards a teammate in a pocket of space or in a legitimate goal scoring position. So in many cases, if he isn't making outward inward runs off the opposing side's fullback or looking to receive the ball on the outside of the fullback in the half space to deliver crosses, that results in his sole impact when he hugs the touchline to provide the width on the right hand side. When he looks to drift in towards those central positions, he has a bit more variety in terms of his attack because he can receive the ball between the lines and look to drift central. But the other manner in which he could harm you is making those inward outward runs runs in towards the half spaces behind the opposing side's fullback to receive the ball. And a lot of his impact does derive from that zone, because when he receives the ball in that area, he could play pullbacks towards his teammates breaking into the box, or fizz balls through the 6-yard area for one of his teammates breaking into a legitimate goal scoring position. And then against Liverpool here, you could see Gabriel Jesus making that run between Fabinho and Van Dijk in towards right half space. And when Fernandinho plays the ball across Van Dijk, now Gabriel Jesus is free to break in towards that right half space zone to drag out Fabinho. What he does well here is that he anticipates Fabinho looking to block off the first time pass, so he cuts the ball back away from his Brazilian teammate, and from there he can look to take a shot on goal as Fabinho stretches out his leg, but he locates Grealish breaking in towards the penalty area freely, and from this position he squares it into the path of Grealish, who ends up firing a first time effort from this position ahead of 2 Liverpool defenders, but he bypasses them both and Alisson. Or the other situation that you witness from that zone is that when he makes those runs in towards that area, what you often see is that when he gets himself into legitimate goal scoring positions, it's in the half space, and from there he could either attempt to cut on towards his stronger right foot and get a shot on goal, but there have been occasions where he drifts towards the byline and he's still capable of testing the goalkeeper. However, Arsenal's major issue last season was that they didn't have a reliable goal scorer in the final third, and for the amount of money that they're signing Jesus for, that is what he's going to be required to do to get Arsenal to the top 4 and eventually challenging for silverware. However, when you analyze Jesus' impact in those areas, while his movement across the front line is very good, whether it be getting himself across center backs or making those half space runs to create, what you see is that he's capable of getting himself into good positions to score those goals. And what you see from the goals that he actually has scored this season is that, like I said, he makes good decisions in terms of his movement of getting himself into the right area, and on those occasions he was capable to finish. From a short corner kick, you have Cancelo receiving the ball freely before Thiago steps towards him, and focus on Gabriel Jesus' positioning. By the time Thiago does get within close proximity of Cancelo, that's where you see Gabriel Jesus prepare to make a run off Alexander-Arnold. When Cancelo looks to loop the ball towards the back post, you can see that Alexander-Arnold is unaware of Gabriel Jesus' movement towards that back post area, and as you watch that play develop, Cancelo scoops the ball over the Liverpool high line that's looking to push forward out of the penalty area, and that results in Gabriel Jesus running off Alexander-Arnold, who has no idea of his movement, and it allows him a free effort on goal to loop it over Alisson. In this example, you have Kevin De Bruyne unmarked in the inside right channel position and focus on his options at the back post. While City have 3v3 in that area, Sterling's movement does drag away 2 defenders, and it leaves Gabriel Jesus free if De Bruyne could bypass those 2 center backs tracking Sterling's movement. When he clips that ball over them, Sterling does miss it, but it falls into the path of an unmarked Gabriel Jesus, and from point blank range is able to nod an effort beyond the keeper. But to counter that, the reason why Man City signed 2 strikers this summer is that although Gabriel Jesus does a very good job of getting himself into legitimate goal scoring positions, he's developed a knack of missing several legitimate goal scoring opportunities from point blank range, and that's deemed him unreliable to Guardiola, and was one of the reasons why City looked more comfortable playing without a striker, and that ultimately let them down in Europe. Once again, we witnessed De Bruyne free in an inside right position and focus on Gabriel Jesus' starting point. He's ahead of the Newcastle backline, but as De Bruyne carries the ball forward, he locates a gap in between 2 defenders and he's looking to make a run towards the back post. De Bruyne identifies Gabriel Jesus' movement and he clips the ball over the Newcastle retreating backline for Gabriel Jesus to receive the ball freely ahead of the 6-yard area, but from this position where he should be scoring, he's unable to control the ball, and the recovering defender is able to clear the lines for a corner kick. So if you analyze Gabriel Jesus' 3 key traits in the final third, which is his pressing, his ability to receive the ball in pockets of space between the lines, and his inwards-outward runs in towards the half space, you do see that he's capable of winning penalties from all 3 scenarios, and that is impactful. Here you see Gabriel Jesus ahead of the West Ham backline, and he's looking to receive the ball between the lines in a tight space. The pass is played in towards him, and he receives it ahead of the center back. And from here, he does have a teammate that he can play the ball towards. But what he ends up doing is that he controls it. He identifies Grealish's run in towards left half space, and he uses it as a decoy to carry the ball in towards the penalty area. And you can see that a center back challenge is applied towards him, but he's able to do a very good job of getting ahead of that defender, and he forces a foul from this position that awards City a penalty. But the biggest weakness that does prevent Gabriel Jesus from being a world-class striker is that he's capable of stretching the backline by making runs in between the fullbacks and the center backs, or in between the center backs, to break beyond the opposing side's backline to go 1v1 with the goalkeeper. But on several occasions when he does get himself into those positions, he's made it a reoccurring theme of failing to beat the keeper in those scenarios, and that's ultimately led to his downfall, and equally presents several red flags to an Arsenal side that have possessed strikers in that ilk and have failed to reach their intended target under Mikel Arteta due to that fact. So as you can see, while Gabriel Jesus is far from the perfect striker, his ball retention, ability to link play, work rate, and defensive discipline will benefit Arsenal's overall attack. But Mikel Arteta's side desperately need reliable goal scorers in the final third, and that's an area the Brazilian striker must improve for this signing to be deemed successful.